We'll call this finance meeting to order at 7:05. And I would just like to open the meeting just to address some concerns going around. We have not changed our goal of going completely transparent in city government and city finances. As for the new canine line item that we have, the money that we have now is all donated. None of it is taxpayer money. Correct? That is correct.
Correct.
We actually do have a list of everything it's going to be spent on. It's a very well detailed list, and the police chief will be giving updates on his reports that he gives. If it ever comes to the point where we will have to budget for this line item, it will be discussed at a finance meeting, just like always. But for now, all of the money is donated. None of it is taxpayer money that's being spent. And we are sure it's being spent wisely. We do have a list. Anyone could call and ask about it if they like. It will be brought up at the meetings. And when we do start using taxpayer money, it will be revisited again. And that's all I have for now.
If I could add something to that.
Yes.
So Petland in Athens has agreed to provide all the food free of charge for the life of the dog.
For the life of the dog, very nice.
That's correct. They also provide toys. I forget what the amount is, but they throw in some other stuff as well for the dog. And we're also working on working with a vet out of Meg's. So more to follow on that.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, just the dog line item, the dog food line item alone is about $180 a month. That will save us.
Yeah, it's
Great.
very good news. People are coming out from everywhere to support the dog.
That's great. Thank you.
While we're thanking, we should thank People's Bank, who sent a is sending a $250 check this week. That's the newest contribution.
The donation.
Yeah, we need to get a whole list together of people that donate so we can thank them all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Taylor, you asked for the meeting, so I'll just let you go ahead and start.
Well, yeah, so there's a full list of considerations that I think Scott is mostly going to handle. For the city at large, meaning nothing here on site, the largest expenditure that I need that is on my radar is in addition to our contract services line item under the auditor's office. That's where we take the cost of state audits. And so if you guys are probably familiar, but if the public watching is not familiar, the state charges the city for its state audit. It typically costs $15,000 to $20,000 a year. We are in the middle of that routine audit, as well as other special examinations and audits all concurrently at the same time, one of which alone is estimated to cost over $20,000. So we've started getting invoices for those, and we've just totally depleted all of that money. So I've estimated 25 additional because the special investigation should finish in 2021, and they told us that would cost $20,000 to $25,000. So we're going to at least need $25,000 split between water, sewer, general, just to pay for these audits.
Now, you said that that'll complete in 2021. So is that something that we can pass on until the next year, and we can just budget it in our next budget? Or do we need
It's supposed to complete this year. Did I say 21?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
'cause I thought
sorry.
they were supposed to be done in end of August, and they're actually going into October now, so they said they'll cost
Yeah.
more, correct?
Well, the original goal was
End
the
of
30th
September.
of September. But yes, it's at least
Of
October
September.
30th at this point. I'm sorry, I meant should complete, the special examinations will complete in 20. And so we're getting invoices from several special examinations and the routine state audit and the financial reporting through our Hinkle system. And I think I've got I think our most recent bill between all of that put together is like $8,000, and the line items have combined maybe 4, 5. So it's just piling up quickly, and the cost is really dependent on how long they take. They just give estimates.
Should we budget the 25 and then
Go from there.
go from there?
So, and if the public's concerned, and especially if I know council and the city manager and myself are concerned, but anything special examination or investigation related is typically added to a restitution requirement if there's a conviction, in this case. But they don't typically get quick paybacks, so it's one of those things we just have to pay for and then hopefully
Get reimbursed.
yeah, restitution, so.
Is the same state auditor still auditing us from, that's been in past? Or changed yet?
There's been no changes that I know of. The state, the routine audit, and which is different than that group, those are the financial reporting, the Hinkle reporters. The routine audit from Columbus was on site, Scott got to meet them, I think Dan might have met them. And they will be back again for 2 days at the end of the month.
Yeah, I got that stack there, it was from Mayor's Court.
Yep. So that would be the main thing, would be 25 split between the 3 funds. It's just something we gotta eat.
That's not something we have a choice on.
Right.
Nope, that's a forensic audit.
Yep.
So it's water, sewer, and general?
General.
And just for, because we talk about it in general terms, just for the finance committee, and probably even, I assume Scott probably appreciates the reminder, but the examinations that are going on, we have a special examination into the city's reporting and payments into the police and fire pension. It's basically investigation related. We have the special investigative SIU unit who is auditing us related to the investigation at City Hall. We have the routine audit, which is not so routine this year. And then we have the routine financial reporting, which is called GAAP financial reporting. And I think that's it. So 4. And they're basically here every other day.
If I could ask everyone just to speak up a little bit,
Sure.
we've had a request from a couple viewers,
Okay.
and this is the first time we've had this request with the new audio, so.
Well, that was about to fall,
Not today, probably tomorrow.
just so you know.
But I'll add 2 more. So last time during regular council meeting, we didn't have any complaints, and, but with smaller group, this is our first time at home, so we will get more microphones installed for next time.
Okay, sounds good.
I think we had these on last for you guys.
No, we didn't.
Mm-mm.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay, never mind.
We could probably spread these out, put one on each.
Yeah, I'll add 3 more. Put one over you guys, one over here, and one back here.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so is that number 1 that we need to budget for?
Yep.
Um,
There's a second one, but I don't know if you guys want to consider that one.
No, I
first.
mean,
We don't have a choice.
yeah, we don't have a choice, so it's, yeah, let's go with it.
Yeah, go with it, Taylor.
Make sure that there's no other concerns or questions.
So it's 25,000 across the
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. If you guys are looking at expense report, it's under contract services. There's a contract, and it's under the auditor's office, the water sewer general.
Mind setting those up, folks.
And we spent,
Okay, here.
Right, I got a couple more text messages.
I wonder if that unplugged was starting to fall.
No, it's right there on the side plugged in.
I know, but it goes from there to there.
Okay.
Daisy chains out.
What's your second one there, Taylor?
the second one is, and I might lean on Scott for this one, we talked about it today and, well, a week ago too. But, the new water project that the city is undergoing, there's no money appropriated for it. It's a pretty large project. The water meters, so we're under contract and they're starting engineering, and I've got 2 invoices from them, but we don't have.
You got that grant, didn't you?
We did. So this is, forgive my ignorance, because I don't know what comes first, the chicken or the egg in this scenario. If we pay it and then get reimbursed later, or.
You gotta have a chicken to have an egg, but you can't have an egg without chicken.
Correct. So, I don't know what the right answer is. So yes, we have the grant, and yes, as far as I know, this will be paid for by grant. However, I'm not sure how it works.
Do we know when that grant's coming in?
So there's a couple ways. So if we haven't received, so a couple ways, for instance, so like if it's like the Nature Works, for instance, when we get that often, it's a reimbursement grant, so we have to spend our money first, and then reimburse us for, you know, the portion that we are not responsible for. You know, there are other instances where the monies may come in, you know, ahead of the project, and we're still responsible for our, you know, portion of it, and we have that money ahead of time, which we would have to accept and appropriate, but, so it all depends, but most of it is reimbursement typically. We haven't received the funds yet though, right?
Nope.
We've been approved for the grant, but we have not.
Correct.
received.
Do we know when we're getting it, when that's coming in?
Well, that's what just popped in my head, so I can get a hold of Mr. Betts tomorrow and confirm all that. But, we don't even have a line item to start with, right, to put money into, so is that the
Correct.
starting point? And then we could recommend a number for
Create a line
council for
item.
Monday?
Yeah, I mean, if Mr. Betts and Stantec is okay waiting longer, they're overdue. We
What
just,
type of grant is it?
EPA,
yeah, cause I don't even know if the city has a share, like, I don't know if we have a 5% or whatever the usual numbers are, but.
they're all buried together and I don't wanna.
I know, we have a lot of projects, so I don't want us to look bad on us, but there's a lot going on, and,
Yeah, there's a lot of projects and a lot of different funding,
lot.
sources, so, yeah, it's.
That was 3.2 mil if I recall correctly.
and it will depend on how much runs through the city instead of direct to the contractor.
Oh, did we have a 5% on that one?
I don't wanna misspeak, Mr. Sherman, possibly,
What else, Mr. Sharp?
yes.
That's how it's gonna be now?
And then the sewer one that we applied for was 4.5 million. That one, we had some follow-on questions, we haven't been approved yet, but,
Seem
Look.
hopeful?
it does look helpful, or hopeful rather. And then a $500,000 stormwater, grant. We have not heard back yet, we've made it to round 2 application. So if we end up getting that one, that will be 25% match of the city, which we can finance, but we're long from knowing that bit of information.
John, what were those you got in, the numbers on that?
Yeah, so,
Stantec?
Those invoices, one is 10,800, I believe 10,800, and the other is 6,000?
6,000, so
Yeah.
16,000.
I believe so. I mean, if you guys,
for engineering and,
it's just engineering. Now, I know, the good news is that with Stantec, they're the most flexible. So as we experienced earlier this spring with all the transition and stuff and everything else happening, they were the most flexible as far as when we were getting stuff appropriated and moving through the works, they were good. So if you guys want us to get the
Well,
hard number.
how old is it? How old are the invoices?
Month.
Yeah.
So they're only 30 days right now?
well, and sometimes with, when you're dealing with, any type of funding too, often before you're even approved for the funding, I know this is a little different, but, you know, typically we have to have the engineering completed and paid for, so that's usually coming out of our pocket already. So,
And the last piece I will need to know, and Scott and I will need, and you guys, is how much runs through the city. So how much will they directly pay the contractors versus how much will they pay us?
I think it all comes to the city, doesn't it?
yeah, probably.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because the sewer's half and half, the sewer plant project. But, not that one he's talking about, the plant.
Right.
But, because we have to appropriate every dollar, even if it's just coming in and going out.
Mhm.
We have to
Right.
book it.
So we have to accept it and appropriate.
Well, here's my only concern is that we recently had a little bit of delay in receiving some funds from other EPA monies that we, you know, left outstanding bills. So I hate to extend the money if if it's gonna be a while, even though we've been approved. We were approved on the last, you know, bucket of money. But, you know, have we even received those other funds?
I was gonna ask that question, cause I haven't followed up with you. Have we got that last 200K for,
From EMA?
from EMA for the
No.
Woodland project?
No. When you guys will know, because I'll be dancing down the halls.
That's what's concerning to me, is like, okay, we've got monies that, you know, we've been approved for, we've expended, and we have not received
Right.
back. So,
I mean, so is a possible solution to, if we can get the engineering firm to tell us how much is gonna run through us until New Year's, and then just bring that to the next meeting, if that's something you guys would authorize, or?
And I just sent him a text hoping to get a quick answer.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I mean, yeah, any questions, I mean, Mr. Beth has been terrific about, getting, you know, if he doesn't know the answer, he's been good about getting the answers for us.
Plus, he does do a lot of research on funding for us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so, but if he can answer us tonight, and maybe that we can move forward at least, and
Okay.
I don't want them to, Stantex has done an awful lot for us. I don't want to, you know, not pay them for the work that they've done, and now I know Mr. Betts has gone above and beyond for us, but, you know, at the same time, I don't want to, get stiffed on any monies, but
Sure.
if nothing else, we can create the line item. What, do you have recommendations on what you would call a line item?
I mean, so I guess it would sort of depend on council's intent. If the intent was to use it in future projects, you might wanna call it something more general. If it was just this project, you might call it you just might name it literally the 2021 water project, or water meter, upgrades, or something like that.
Well, through this particular, grant that we received,
Water line.
oh, there, okay, here we go. So, through this grant though, does it, cause some grants may require specific line items just for those monies.
Yep.
I'm okay with doing a more general, if it doesn't require.
Right.
Yeah, because this won't be our first go at it, because we got a ton of water lines fixed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, well, I'm sure we'll be applying again, so yeah.
Well,
just
maybe
do-
they have a requirement. Since you bring that up, maybe they require it separated, and then that'll tell us what we have to do. I just don't know. I mean, I know we've gotten the project approved and if the engineering started, but honestly, besides that, I'm behind the 8 ball.
Pretty sure we're gonna have to use it on exactly what we put on the application. The meters
Right.
and a couple water lines on certain streets. So I'm sure we
Right.
named the streets as well, didn't we?
Yes.
In the grant, so.
Yes.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
I just mean they might have a requirement on the accounting on how it looks. Like,
Well, yes,
like the
yeah,
Bookville
so-
purchase, they had a requirement on exactly how the accounting would work on the sewer line purchase for Bookville, for example. I just don't know. I don't know yet.
I'll get a follow-on, answer on that tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll email it to us, and I can forward it to all of council.
Because I don't think we haven't signed contracts, or we have?
For that one now,
Oh, okay, so yeah, we're still so
the only
early.
thing we signed was phase 2 of the sewer plant,
Gotcha.
which is gonna be a whole lot of different funding agencies.
So the 4.5 million for the sewer, that's not part of what's going on now, right?
No, it has absolutely nothing to do with the, current project or the current wastewater
So
treatment.
what is that?
4.5, that is sewering Doneville, Imperial, expanding in Nelsonville, and I think, if memory serves me correctly, it's either expansion on Wood Lane or expansion toward Carbon Hill.
Yeah, I thought it was still.
And then the full upgrade of all the lift stations. So the lift stations will be automated, and we won't have to go do physical checks on them every day.
So my recommendation would be to do a more general line item if we can, and if we'll be able to use that line item in the future for those type of projects.
Yeah, going through this is gonna be our last time we do it.
Right. But if the funding, agency requires a specific, you know, name for the project, and each subsequent project that we apply, then we'll have to do it that way, but I would propose a more general, like, you know, and this is only for water, correct? And this is not the sewer side.
Right.
Yeah, just water,
So this-
water meters and all.
This is all new meters and pits in Bookville. This is 3 or 4 main lines in town, so one of them's out 691. One of them's on that street that starts with M, and then, St. Charles, I believe, and.
Mill,
No,
We don't say that street.
he doesn't say the name.
No. And I don't recall where the 4th one's going, but it's 4 main lines.
so wasn't there one down Railroad, or was that sewer?
Sewer.
Sewer.
So sewer on Railroad to, get sewer to the field house so they could complete.
So I think we were putting water across there too, weren't we? But,
Water's already over there.
Is there?
We have
We were
two.
gonna put a 4-inch hydrant over there or something, weren't we?
I don't recall haul that. There's a 2-inch main on that side of the tracks now. So, there's also, Watkins Street, that's where the other one is. Watkins Street is a new water main in that 3-2. So, that's the 4th Street. So with that, they should be able to put the hydrant there.
So if we do a general name, could we do, like, water line, cause these are water line repair slash upgrades?
Those are replacement lines.
I mean, I think the 2021, that way you identify the year and water upgrades. Unless you're wanting to keep it, like you said, general and use it over again, but.
Yeah, I'd keep it general and use it over again if we can,
Okay.
but if they, cause otherwise we'll have to change that, each time we get that grant for each year with upgrades, but.
Have we had any water grants in the past?
I don't think so. What was ever applied?
Water plant.
Just for the
That was
water,
7 years ago.
yeah, just for the water plant, not for any
Not
left.
for no infrastructure.
Okay.
So,
But we
water line upgrades or water line replacements?
Yeah.
You can't just say water line though, if it's meters, right?
Well, okay, water upgrades or replacements, because then it could be meters, bases, it could be the pits, meters, it could be lines.
Lines.
It may be more productive to your original suggestion, just to check with them, because it might have a requirement, is what I'm thinking. So we might get a good idea, and then they say, nope, that's not gonna work.
Yep. And then if you can find out about when we might get funding, from that grant, or when it would come in, if it's coming through the city. Other than that, I would say if they're not gonna get it, and if we have the funds available, then I would be okay with, making sure that Stantec gets, paid and appropriate that money.
Once that 200K hits, we'll be a lot better off.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Everybody checking on that fund?
I just talked to him last week, and I got the typical 3-week.
Checks in the mail?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
The
I
guy
wish we
loves it
got
when I
that.
call him.
I said, they didn't say that, I wish they did.
Right, because he's also the one that briefed me on Church Street, that, I don't know if you watched the council meeting or not. The Church Street project has been approved, and they look to put it out for bid starting on yesterday. And I haven't seen any email on it just yet, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But the big thing for your request is that does not include any guardrail. So they denied the guardrail request. So any guardrail that goes on there would be at the city's expense, and Jason's working on a couple quotes now, looking at having it installed and then us installing it, and what would be required.
Well, I know the major cost was just gonna be how tall it was. had to
Yes,
be.
they're gonna have to drive some piles
Yeah.
down.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I just wanted to get that back to you.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get the piles driven, we can always go through and boulder on guardrail.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because they don't have enough to do.
I keep busy.
Okay.
So, depending on the answer, we okay with sending to council 16,000 for bets?
I'm okay with that.
And that'd be all the
Should we,
water general.
if we do get an answer from Bets, is that
Oh,
still
yeah,
gonna
but
stay?
No,
that's-
we got
Yeah,
water,
yeah,
we got
yeah.
water.
Yeah, that'd come out of water, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's all water fund,
Yeah.
yep.
Scare me, dude.
Hey, just testing you.
But if we do get an answer from Bets, should we change that, or how should we bring it to another finance, or I just wanna get.
No, I think that we're okay with, if we get an answer from Bets on what we're looking for, that we're okay with paying them.
Okay. Well, yeah, I would say just go ahead, it's coming out of water, I would say just go ahead and pay it, but we need to try to find out when the funds will be available.
Well, yeah, because I guess we'll have to pay no matter what anyhow. So.
Yeah.
Pay it out of the water fund?
Yep.
Hey, now who's gonna bring all these preparations to Gary?
I think Tate does, right?
If I don't hear anything, I usually give an email over, but if, I think sometimes, Dan and I were talking about last week, sometimes I miss stuff that maybe is discussed, I don't know if I'm taking notes or something, so I don't know if maybe there should be a double check. as far as when it gets sent or something, so.
Yeah, let's try to get it in by
Yeah, we can do
Wednesday.
that, I mean, if you wanna send it out, we can all, that way we can all see if
Sure.
something's.
Yeah.
Okay. I just
Yeah,
wanna
'cause so
make sure.
far, well, just from your side of it, you've got two
Yeah,
that you need.
16 and 25.
Yeah, so depending on what Mr. Frank has going on over here.
you've got a list.
I do have a list.
Well, I only have another half a sheet of paper, so.
There's some scrap right
Yeah, we've got
here.
extras.
So,
Oh,
the 25 is for the
The audits.
audit.
Audit, yep, coming out of water, sewer, and general.
Can we get used to Gary early enough, so you can get more receipts?
Possible, but,
Possible,
yeah, well, his deadline's Wednesday at noon, right?
right?
Because Wednesday at noon's also our payroll
I've
deadline
seen some a
tomorrow.
lot later than that, though.
So,
Yeah, I know.
some Wednesdays, like every other Wednesday, I prioritize the paycheck.
What
so-
all does he need though? Does he just need,
Just gets the line item and the
Line item
amount.
from you.
That's all I send.
Okay.
I mean, or like if there's a special ordinance, that's the other thing that makes me a little nervous, is if there's an ordinance that's not monetary, then I'm translating it some based off what I hear from you guys, and that makes me a little
All
uncomfortable.
we need,
because
all we need is the funds it comes out of.
Yeah, does that make sense? Okay, it's just better if council instructs the
Right,
city
but we don't
attorney.
know the line item that it's going to or coming out of.
I usually
Say.
try to do it something if it isn't money, but most everything is money that you have to
Right,
do a line item, so I figure you know those better than I do.
yeah, of course, yeah, no, I get that one, absolutely.
Okay.
all right. We'll start out with the easy ones. Fire department wants to move 1.2K, so $1,200 from data processing into their operations. That was for the air breathing system repair.
Can you say that again?
$1,200 from their data processing line item to operating.
Thank you.
quick question, what's their data processing?
It's a software line item.
That they, okay.
It's a
It's
very
an
vague
op-
one throughout the city that has lots of money put into it, that we have found that,
They don't use that much.
well, it's something.
Well, we're gonna
I
start
wanna-
using.
Well, it's something I wanna clean up, and I know Taylor wants to clean up for next year. It just seems very,
It reminds me of a very old line item that's just been copied and pasted for so long. That's a term that I think used to be used, that we just call it software now,
Gotcha.
and it just needs updated, basically.
Quick question, this, I'm stealing this from Carla, but since you brought up one of those things you want to clean up, how far along are you guys in that conversation about the new line items and stuff, and when we be hearing about that?
so as far as I am tracking, I'm getting ready to sit down with every individual, department head and start going through that.
Okay.
So, Taylor and I went through the first round of that the week before last,
Mhm.
and we got a couple little follow-up things that we gotta figure out, and then I'll sit down with them and we'll go line by line through their budget.
The departments, in my opinion, will be the easier part for Scott and to devour. The harder part to devour will be these big projects. How much money do we need for the big water project, the sewer project, the sewer plant project, that kind of stuff. And that's stuff we're working with vets on, so.
Because I know we are a little anxious, because we want to make sure we have plenty of time to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to see it, first part of November.
I can pull it up.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute, isn't it due by the first week in December?
Well, if we get the first part of November,
Well, we always change it 3 times.
I'm actually glad it
that's
came
what,
up.
next meeting?
Yeah, I don't need that in here, but can you? And I know that's what that call is about, right there. Can you send the text to one of you guys real quick?
Where's that at?
Pleasure to you.
Gotcha.
So I'm actually glad it came up, because when the state auditors were here on site, last week, it feels like 10 years ago, I don't mean to sigh like that, but it was an intense week. They discussed that the state law, I know you guys are tired of hearing this from me, but we're gonna get it right and it's gonna become normal. The state law requires a temporary budget be passed first, and then a permanent in 2021. What most cities do is they pass the temporary till the end of March, so 1 quarter, and then they pass a budget for the rest of the year. The reason is because you can't pass a budget till the county approves your revenue estimates, and they don't do that until 2021 starts. And they are gonna ding us for doing so for the last few years. So what we'll do, it's simpler than it sounds. What we do is we'll figure out what is needed for the whole year, then we'll slice it and just pass part of it. And then in January, when the county gives us the green light, we'll bring you the rest of the numbers. So it'll be a 2-step passage process. And we'll,
I don't wanna see just a little tiny bit. I mean, can't we look at it all and just pass? I mean, can't there be 2 separate?
yeah,
So
no,
we kinda know what's going on in the future.
yeah, I'm sorry, that's what I was trying to, so that's what I meant to communicate was, you'll see the full picture, but what comes to legislation first
Okay.
will be that sliced in part for a quarter, or less potentially, and then when the county gives us the green light, which I'll tell you guys as soon as it happens, we'll just pass the full picture. And it's just called a temporary and a permanent budget, and they noticed we passed a permanent budget in December last year, and they were like, that's impossible, you can't do that, so, I said, okay, so we'll fix it this year.
Well, we did do a temporary at 18, didn't we?
We did, so one of the years we did do it,
Yeah.
we passed a quarter,
Yeah.
the first quarter, and we finished did we pass it maybe February, we passed the rest of the year?
Probably.
Yeah. So, it's a little change, you guys will have the full picture, it'll just be a 2-step legislation.
What else you got, Scott?
We had a resident with no family, no next of kin, that passed away. The funeral home attempted to get, some sort of compensation from the VA, but was unsuccessful, and they're requesting $500 from us.
For what?
For-
I mean, why from the city?
It's our responsibility when the resident has no family to pay the minimum cost. So basically that covers the, cremation.
I don't think you want to hear the details.
I've just never, ever heard of that before in my whole entire life, and I'm
I
not a
think
youngster.
we both learned it, I think even Gary Hunter confirmed for us that
Yeah, it's a thing.
the state requires a city.
We were actually approached, this is my 3rd one now, and, during the first ones when I confirmed with Gary that, we are in fact responsible for it when no next of kin available, no family, and, the funeral home actually gets a discount. So what happens is we'll cover the, cremation, transportation, and then the township will cover the burial piece and put a spot down, I believe, Greenlawn is usually where we go. But they cover that side of the house, the township does.
Is that the general fund or?
We got a line item for that?
No.
We don't.
No. I don't even know, would we call it indigent expenses?
Sure.
Something? My suggestion would be to pass enough for a couple, because they seem to come at us regularly.
Well, for next year, you mean maybe?
Out of 3 that I've had, this is the first one that we've actually had to pay. The VA's picked up the cost on the other 2.
Well, let's just see how it goes from there
Okay.
on. Do the 500, but
I was pretty surprised when we found
I
out, I
mean,
was like,
if you wanna put it in next year's budget, I put it in at like $1,000 or something.
Yeah, it covers
Yeah.
2.
I'll try and give you guys a heads up when I'm gonna die.
They're calling the VA first.
Okay,
Yeah.
moving on.
And then, Harry wants to move 1,500 from his fuel line to operating for pump and ladder testing.
Will you be asking for more fuel at the end of the year though?
That's what I was thinking.
he's really ahead, like, how do I say this?
He's
He
ahead of the
hasn't
game?
used nearly as much as the budget allowed,
Okay.
so he's pretty good in
He's
that.
been doing very well on fuel. PD is too, aren't they?
Yes, but it's been cheap gas prices, unfortunately.
Is
The
that-
sewer plant's been terrible, but we've had lots of.
From fuel to operations.
Yes.
So fuel line, so he wants to take it from the fuel
Or is
line.
it equipment repair?
I thought he wanted to take it to fuel, and you can put it in equipment repair, but it's not really repair, it's an annual test.
So it's
Oh,
like
test.
fuel
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah,
operating.
it's not repair, it's just a testing.
I'm sorry, I thought it was a repair, my mistake.
No, it's just a testing for pumps and ladders.
Okay.
Let's see. Body cams for PD. So, previous chief was here, I identified 3 line items on their budget where we could cover that 7,000. There was 3,500 in the other category, which was at the bottom. There was a fair amount in data processing, and then there was also, the remainder of that would have come in from his operations budget. Through the transition, I somehow mixed that up and lost sight of it, and Chief Fitch did not account for that in his monies. He was under the impression that it was taken care of before he took over. So we do not have the 7,000, and it has not been paid for the body cams for PD yet.
I thought we paid that, wasn't it a month or 2 ago?
No,
2 months?
I think we talked about it, but we told them to run it out of 3 things. But, you know, somebody spent a lot of money on overtime in January.
Well, it's Scott's being self-deprecating too. Part of it was my fault when he asked me about the body cam expenditure. I somehow left with the impression that we weren't ready to pull the trigger, and I was wrong. He showed me where I was wrong, and so that's partly my fault too. It's not
When is it?
mostly.
When is the bill due, or is this for
That's
next year?
past.
3 months ago?
No, this was
Yeah, it's
3 months
past
ago.
due.
That's what I thought we talked about it a long time ago.
June is when it was.
So we still have funds available, those 3 funds we were gonna take the monies from,
No, Chief Fitch obligated those.
okay? So now this is coming solely from.
This would be an
general
appropriation.
fund.
Yeah. Well, it would be general, it would have been general before, there just would have, it'll be an additional appropriation, yeah.
Okay.
So do we have safeguards or something like that, does it really
So
happen
we
again?
had a.
Well,
line
it'll be on
item
the budget for next
year.
year. So next year will be its own line item on the budget, just like all of our car
I
payments
guess
and
I meant more of so things don't kind of fall through the cracks from one head to another. Like you said, he spent it not knowing that you had spent it.
Right. In my mind, that should be its own line item, like any other software, like fire software or his software, or the one for Mayor's Court that we're about to talk about. In my mind, that's how it should be, so it's transparent. We know exactly up front how much it's gonna cost, put it in there from the beginning, and when the bill comes, it's already just
Well,
go,
we
you know,
will do
pay and
that.
be done.
From now on.
Absolutely. So that's the one, just to refresh your memory, not trying to stir drama, that's the one that was approved the year before for 15,000. But what wasn't in the, ordinance was the 5-year contract that came along with it for $7,000. So nobody had it on their radar that the bill was coming until the bill just showed up in June. So to make sure it doesn't happen again next year, number 1, we know it's coming. And number 2, we're gonna get it its own line item on the budget, that way it goes in from the very beginning and it can't slip through the cracks.
Yep, I'm okay with that. Let's get it done.
Yep.
Just wanna do operating for him, or is there a specific, I can't think of one that's specific to body cams, but.
Well, can we make the motion now, like, can we create an ordinance to create the line item, and then just appropriate it to the new line item, because we're gonna be having body cam line item for next year.
That would be a great, in my mind, that works great.
Next 4 years.
Well, yeah. But, yeah, just, yeah, I'm thinking, like, going forward, it's in the budget, so
Yeah.
might as well just get that done out of the way, and then,
Create line item.
that's what I'm proposing.
To answer your question, when you brought me over, they're in the area.
Okay, thank you.
Is it 7,000?
7,000, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's like
You'll have to-
6,998
You have to come up
or something.
with the number, the line item number for the ordinance.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna be busy tomorrow.
It's a busy day, let me tell you. And tomorrow's our first direct deposit at City Hall. We're all very excited for that.
Oh, man, I'm gonna be
Very excited.
I love direct
Coming
deposit.
around.
Everybody knock on wood tomorrow that all the money makes it to where it's supposed to go.
Moving on to the next one. This is the first committee I brought it to. To me, it makes sense to come here, but if I need to go to a different committee, please feel free to redirect me. I would like to move Jason to a service director, so he would oversee the water plant and the sewer plant as well, in addition to just the utilities section. The benefit to that is oversight. We're already pretty much using the water plant under Jason now. The operator of record we have is a contractor. So as a contractor, they're responsible for the water and the records getting to the EPA, but not the supervision of the two operators that they have in the water plant. And then the sewer plant, currently we do have a sewer plant operator. He's gonna retire in a few years. And ultimately, if we have a service director, I wouldn't see why we would need to replace a plant supervisor, rather grow a plant operator internal, so they would stay in the union, but they would have the operator of record.
The new sewer plant will be more automated.
Exactly, it would be fully automated. I brought figures for you guys, just for sake. It's annual salaries. My annual salary is $57,500. Harry's salary is $57,387. Scott Fitch is $52,478. Phil is $50,981. And Jason is $47. And those are just base salaries. That doesn't include any of the benefits or anything else that goes along with it.
Now, is Jason gonna get the license?
Well, if we're successful at reorganization, there would be no reason for him to get the license, because the licensed operators would remain in the union. So I've already talked to Ashley, and it's really pretty common that the operator of record would remain in the union and not become management or an administrator. So, as an example, we have the new guy, Mike, that we just hired down at the sewer plant. He's very eager to get his license and move up and basically replace Phil. As the operator of record, should he, follow through with that and become the operator of record, he would be paid, what he's worth for that license. However, he would remain in the union and not supervise other people, rather just be responsible for the plant and the documentation to the EPA. So that's what the operator of record does. In the water plant, when I talked to those folks, nobody was interested in moving up to the operator of record. That's why we have a contractor in place right now doing it. For a multitude of reasons, but one reason that stuck out with me is the folks that I talked to did not want to leave the union because they wanted to maintain union representation in the event something was needed. So that's where I contacted again Mr. Johnson and said, how do we make this work and, have one supervisor over everybody? And what I mean by that is like people supervisor, but at the same time have the plant operators remain in the union and have that union protection that they desire, and go forward from there. So long term, in my mind, all I see is one service director, which is currently filled. Jason is currently filling that position. I don't know if he'll be around 5 years or not. I hope so. But and then after that, as soon as Phil departs and retires, there would be no more sewer plant administrator. It would just be a sewer plant operator moving up into that operator of record role. Does that make sense? Or did I
So let's
just
get to the dollars and cents of
So
it.
would he be like, not to sound bad or anything, like, would he be like qualified to tell them what they need to do? I mean, does he know the day-to-day what they need to do to supervise them? I mean.
So it's been working out just fine in the water department, or water plant rather. If the operator of record calls and says, I need help, it's known that we give them whatever resources they have. So currently we have a street department person who's certified in all the water stuff. And we just used him last week in an emergency situation to go do water samples. And he's certified because of other places he works. He doesn't even get paid to have those licenses, I don't think. I'm not real sure. So he doesn't get paid extra to have those licenses, but we needed him up there to fulfill that duty at the water plant, and he was able to go up and take care of that duty at the water plant. So, in my mind, there's no problem as far as the operator of record, whatever they say plant operationally goes. When it comes to people issues and people problems, that would be the service director.
So I think that should probably go through utility to create that position, and then finance can talk about the salary.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Then, Mayor's Court software, I don't know much about it, so I'm gonna turn it over to you, sir.
So,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back here real quick. So, but when we moved Jason into the utility director position, so he's over everybody in street,
And water and sewer distribution, but
Okay,
not
and
either
not-
plant.
like,
But not
okay,
plants.
that's what thank you. That's what I thought I heard you say in the beginning, but I wanted.
Yes, sir, and by default, the water plant's operating underneath him, so one of the efficiencies that we've gained is by now him working with the water plant, the two operators that we have there, the night shift guy saves us so much overtime. He's able to go on and do, water turn-ons, late at night, or an emergency shut-off. He's able to go evaluate leaks and report back to Jason, and they make a determination, instead of calling somebody in like we used to do in the past, and go look at that, and they make the determination from there. So we're already seeing benefits of working together, and that night shift guy, I mean, it's just incredible how much he saves us in the big picture. And then we are also utilizing him now with the crews when we do call in for a big break or something. We're now pulling Bruce out of the water plant to come over and help with that, which is another efficiency instead of calling in maybe a fourth or fifth person, so. It's working well. The sewer plant, because Phil's still there, I've already talked to Phil, and long-term with Phil is, once we get Rock River out of town, that's the ones currently tearing up Chestnut Street, essentially at that point, if Jason's over top of plant operations, we still have Phil for a couple more years. The amount of time and energy that we are devoting to that plant, it's really quite phenomenal how much time and energy we're putting toward that. And if we're able to put Phil toward that resource to help them navigate through, and get the plant built, and then he'll roughly retire right after the plant's built, within a year or two maybe. So, of course, we still have him as a manpower tool as well to help out with other things, but my intention is not to replace him if we get a service director. So I'll take that to utilities. The next one, oh yeah, software, Mayor's Court.
Yeah, I'm looking for Taylor's email.
Any comments while Mr. Sherman's looking?
That's what I'm going to check.
Are you just looking for the amount, Dan?
Yeah,
The Mayor's Court Computer Fund is, I believe it's 14.6, 14.5?
14.2 something, I thought you said.
Just over, yeah, basically, it's right over 14,000. Now, I believe I had reached out, well, I hope I sent it.
It's all computer, here you go.
It's been a crazy few weeks. I believe I reached out to Mr. Hunter to ask just how that money got put there, like what originally was set aside,
2,328.
and what all we were allowed to spend it on. Because I have no familiarity with the Mayor's Court Computer Fund, it's just a fund that's had money sitting in it.
So, I got it. So we have a $14,328.14 in the computer fund. Basically, we purchased a software package back in 2013, which is the Mayor's Court package. It was on a partial package, and it never got used, never got downloaded. So we have to buy new software because there's a lot of things in the computer in there that are no longer on it. This takes care of the reporting to the state and the Supreme Court. It does the Mayor's Court reports with all the reconciliations. It automatically put in the ticket, and it automatically tells you how much you're sending to the state and to the county and how much the city keeps. Has the warrants, has the VMV site and accessibility. Basically, it does a lot of stuff.
Will it be able to tell us, like, distinction between, tickets from police police
Yes.
versus code?
So, yeah, so we already have that anyhow, so everything that's done in code goes into, iWorks. Anything that's paid on code violations goes into iWorks. She puts it in there, the auditor's office to train on iWorks, so they, anytime they take a payment it's for code, goes in iWorks, so there's a tracking there. This software also will track your tickets for the police department. And again, the most important part is that it'll calculate what we pay the state, what part of that ticket and the percentages, and it does a lot of stuff. And that package software is $12,000, the initial package is $12,780, I believe it is.
What do you mean by initial? Do you mean there's few
So
years?
there's a renewing your license every year, $1,780.
Is that for support or?
It's for maintenance and support. So basically, I have to send them over all our price lists for all our fines. And it automatically, so once you, and all our officers' names and their badge numbers, so whenever the ticket's entered, it just automatically calculates everything up.
So once again, I hate to bring this up, but you sent me a list a while back of the really big stuff of yearly payments. Is there like all the little yearly payments?
Your payments for what?
Well, like we have at least 4 years for body cams, we would have
Oh.
$1,780 for this, we have just all
Well,
kinds
so
of
we
yearly
have,
payments.
and I don't know why it's not in the budget, we have $14,328, somehow it got to that point. So somewhere along the line, there's a budget for mayor's court.
Since they shouldn't come out of the fines somehow?
No, it's right here. We have
No,
a-
I mean, to go
Oh,
into that fund.
well, yeah, so we've actually passed, last month, we've got in collections or on the books, 6,000, $300 or $400, $600-$400.
Maybe there's a percentage of that, or so, do you know how it gets into that? fund?
No, and you're talking like on the books, not, that's not the full
We
collection.
we haven't collected it, we haven't collected all of that yet, but we're collecting it, so that's what fines are in the books to be paid.
Right, well, so, that's one thing I would just like, I think it's, I mean, especially if the software provides like, we'd really like
Accountability.
reports with our deposits, because we wanna see itemized, if you've got $4,000, I wanna see what brought us to $4,000.
Well, and that's it, because we also need to calculate and figure out, she's gonna have to go back in and put all these tickets in.
Right.
And we haven't reported since June, so she's gotta go back and do all that stuff. And, but basically no training, we're kinda winging it.
Right.
And asking, calling the municipal court, where we're gonna do transfer. This, we're calling all these agencies for help.
The only homework I suggest that would make me comfortable is that we make sure when if you guys approve this and send it to Hunter, that it's asked of Hunter, okay, how did this money get there? Because I don't know when this money was set aside, it's been there a while. And then just to make sure that the Ohio Revised Code allows us to spend that.
Well,
I
if it's
think
for
so.
computer software, this is computer software for mayor's court.
And that we would need to continue
Well,
to
right, I
fund
mean, it's
that
just,
for the
I
2,000
just know the
year.
name, I just know it's called the Mayor's Court Computers Fund. I guess I just don't know anything else besides the name and the amount.
I guess back in 2013, we spent a couple $1,000s on a partial program that we never used,
Right.
so.
So would we need an ordinance to make sure money goes into that continuously, like
No.
a portion, or?
We can do that.
Well,
In the budget.
see, that's the thing, you can't just transfer between funds arbitrarily. There has to be there has to be rules already set aside. So it's like it's like a water fund. There's rules on where we can move water money, which is nowhere. Capital improvement can only come from income taxes. So I would wanna know, what are the rules of this fund? Cause I just don't know. It's before my time on council, so I don't know what its rules are.
So we just have to ask Gary that, or?
Yeah, if you guys appropriate from it, see, it's got money in it, it's not appropriated for expenditure. And if you guys suggest that, I would just suggest asking with the question that
you know,
Is this an appropriate expense from that?
essentially,
Mhm.
yeah.
Now, does Mayor's Court has additional, line items besides just the computer fund, correct?
Yep, in the general fund.
Okay.
That's where the individual is paid, and there's, maybe they got 1,000 and 750 in office supplies maybe this year.
Yeah, I forget what the office supplies were, but. Mhm.
Is that because the Mayor's Court clerk doesn't fall, under the purview of the city manager? Is that something where we want to do similarly to the, with like office supply budget? Have we been kind of aggregating it all?
I think her salary is budgeted in the mayor's court.
No, like office supplies. You know how we've created a closet now that we can, you know, control the inventory, we don't spend nearly as much money now, but her budget doesn't necessarily fall under the purview of the city manager, you know, so it's like, if we don't need that line item, like, we need a line.
Yeah, I mean, we can go to a general, I mean,
Cause we need 1780 obviously ongoing, but, you know, then what other line items do we need in that budget? Cause that'll have to come from our decision making.
well, it helps that the, police department is now sending stuff to mayor's court instead of municipal.
Well, yeah, 'cause it's pretty piddly in years past, they only.
Yeah, the old regime did.
Like $6,000, $7,000 a year.
That's actually a question from a citizen up here. Does mayor's court collect more in fines than it costs to operate?
I would say historically.
Well, so,
Historically, no.
Historically not collected, I mean.
used to,
No.
and then for a period, there, no, and recently, yes. So, and you're gonna pay for a prosecuting attorney no matter what. So,
But I would say that it has not paid for itself as of
probably for several years.
recent years, so.
That's because
Yeah,
of
I mean, we,
current,
yeah. It'll probably be a long rebuilding process because
but that was from past,
it's, the
that
prosecuting
was from the
attorney,
past regime.
the prosecuting attorney alone is 25,000, and last year, the mayor's court brought in 8 or 9 maybe. So we have a long way to go to even cover the basics, yeah.
So, I think we're on the right track now finally, so.
So, yeah, so
Can we,
there's actually there's an agenda. So she fills out an agenda, everybody turns in everything to her by Monday, before mayor's court on Wednesday, and she puts out an agenda, she has everything in order. So it's no longer like they just come in here and you're thumbing through this and, oh, what's your name? No. We call them in, their file's right up on top, with their code, they're up on the screen. I mean, it's pretty well organized, I mean, it just goes right through.
Can we, since we're on this topic of this budget though, I mean, is there any way that we can, ensure we have money in this budget to, you know, maybe put a camera, over the money box? That's something I've mentioned before, that I think with any money boxes in the city, that we should have cameras over top of them.
I love cameras. I can get more and more quotes for cameras. So,
And since they have their own line item, we could use these funds potentially to.
so you're talking like a camera in here?
If that's where it's at, sure. I mean,
Well, she don't collect all the payments in there, a lot of them go over to things, to somebody wants to make a payment that evening.
Well,
So
that's,
she-
well, I think he's suggesting too, over the drawer.
over the drawer,
absolutely.
We don't really have a
orders.
drawer, we just have a money box in there that sticks in the cabinet,
Yeah.
under lock and key. But,
No, I think that, and I think at the water department as well, I mean, for multiple reasons, security of employees and, you know, also, you know, safety of theft from the city, not that I have that concern of any current employees, but, you know, I think it's just.
well, there's more accountability too,
More
because now in mayor's court, they're using iWorks. So in every case that's in there, Becky puts it in iWorks, and then when that case comes here, she adds it in iWorks of what the fine was. So there's no hiding it. You know what I'm saying? There's no, before, for whatever reason, we kinda always had an excuse why we weren't using iWorks. My computer's broke, or I don't have time, or I don't blah blah. So, but things are changing now. Well, plus this other software, it tracks the tickets, once you put the ticket in, it's there.
Mhm.
So there's no getting rid, no erasing it, no getting rid of it, there's no way about it, so. If the money doesn't match up with what's in that computer program, you have this problem. So, I do need that 12.7 appropriated from that fund though, because we did order software. Because we thought, when we got the email from Taylor, he told me we had 14 in computer software, so I called Tony and talked to Scott, and we went ahead and ordered it, because I thought the money was there. I didn't know we had to appropriate it.
Well, you never know.
Somebody tells me we got
Right,
14,000 in
right.
the fund.
Right. I think it was just a difference in how, in understanding the question, difference between money in the fund and the appropriation
And we need
amount.
the 1780 ongoing.
Well, I think that would be, I mean, Mayor's Court's got a budget, so I think we can,
Yeah, we just need to make sure it's in the budget going
Yeah.
forward. Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, because somehow we got to go up to a $14,000 plus, so there's gotta be something that's been going into that fund.
Well, that could
It's
be,
been a long
that
time
could,
since.
that could be just the WIP fines they've collected over the last 5 years that have been
Ah,
accumulating.
So, well, we've done certain.
No, we don't split anything to it right now or in recent years. I don't
So
know what,
just-
I
just
just, it
so
came
you know,
from,
everything that code does stays here at the city. Every fine that code puts out. Tickets, a portion of that does go to the state, and then it stays here. I'm not sure what that percentage is. Again, that's why I got calls out to people about answers to questions, because we gotta start doing some reporting.
I'd still like cameras. We can look into that.
I would love cameras and badge access everywhere in the building.
So if we're building up the fund, we should be able to get some of that stuff. Right? We're getting more ticket money and.
Sure, I think so. I think it's just, it's a matter of just security and, you
But
know,
also
safety.
protect
so.
them, like if someone says you took it and you got proof you didn't,
Mhm.
I would want that, say, you know, I would want proof that I didn't do anything, so it's not just 'cause you think somebody might do it, it's
Right.
for their own security too.
How you didn't like cameras? How you don't like being on camera?
I don't wanna be on camera. I want my hands and the money to be on camera.
How we know those are your hands?
it's a good customer service issue too. I mean, any place I've worked, the cameras were used more for customer service issues than theft, so if there's ever an argument or disagreement at the window, or somebody says this happened, you can actually check if it did, you know. It's a pretty good tool.
Last one I got is,
So the camera's gotta be careful though, because if it's pointing towards your computers, you've got leads up, that's also a
You
privacy.
have to point it the other direction.
So it's a small office. Yeah.
last one I have is for the IT stuff. I guess I'm a little bit confused where we're at. I know we've talked about it before as far as like a monthly amount or per paycheck amount to have one of our city employees do IT work as an additional duty. Just to recap, we have a work order system in place, iWorks, that we can use to track all IT requests. And I believe we've even confirmed that, and please, I don't want to overstep, but we've confirmed that it is okay to make an additional pay for one of our employees to do that as an additional duty. Is that correct, or am I incorrect in saying so?
That's what I was wondering, if we have
Yeah,
checked into that.
I know we left it that we were trying to confirm with Mr. Hunter on that to make sure, but I thought he was the one that was part of the discussion originally.
I didn't ask Mr. Hunter that, but I don't know, am I forgetting a conversation or?
But then the question was, what did it come down to? Did it come down to additional, hourly rate for
Well,
that additional service? And then my question to you, Taylor, was can we have another line item on there that separates that? So if it comes down to like, say, additional 60 cents on the hour to provide that service, then could we have that on that employee's paycheck to be like their salary? They got salary, wage, overtime or whatever, can we have that line item whatever, I don't know, but,
Almost like a per diem check.
yeah, per diem,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Versus doing a separate check for that line, for that service.
yeah, I think both standing with past practice at the city and clarity, it would make sense to pay it in a different line than just salary.
Agreed.
And we can do that easily, yeah, we just create a different pay code. But if you guys were to say, we're just adding, just make up a number, $1 an hour, or $2, I think that muddies it. If you're just adding.
Well, I think it was a yearly rate.
Yeah, I mean, I broke it down to a pay period rate. The pay period rate would be $307.69 per pay period.
Yes.
So have we checked with Mr. Hunter to make sure this is all good?
Mr. Hunter hasn't had any problems with any of the IT stuff that we did even in the past, that the state auditors had issues with.
So we need to check with the auditors?
Could.
Yeah,
I just
I'll
don't
call
want
anybody I need to call.
I
I don't know.
I'm talking to them every day, I mean,
Yeah, I would just extend that out there, just so they're, so they're clear on what it is that we're trying to accomplish, A, and B, how we are, we're trying to do it the right way, the appropriate way of doing it. I think having it on the same check is a better, and a separate pay code is the better way to do it versus a separate check, because then that almost looks like it's a contract, type position, or versus an additional duty. But, they're gonna be the ones that probably will feel maybe even provide you more service. We can't be the only ones doing this in the state, so.
yeah, I don't know what other folks do, but I can ask them for sure.
Well, so Athens
Right.
probably has a separate IT department.
Probably.
But they got a ton more money.
They got a lot more budget, So, okay, so other than that, I'm supportive of that conversation, so long as everything we discussed on that previously too was that it's gonna be okay, it's not gonna be of an issue. As far as the auditors are concerned, I think it's definitely gonna be better for us as far as service for our needs.
Let me tell you what, when shit goes down here, it's a nightmare.
So we need to continue when we hear back from the auditors, right?
I agree.
So, if we could bounce back to the water discussion.
No.
I happen to have some information.
Okay.
So we actually got wired $29,211 on October 1st. Does that sound familiar?
What are we talking about, I'm sorry? As
Back
far
to the
as-
water grant.
Oh, we had OWDA money come in.
So Michael just sent me that, that $29,211.99 was for the engineering fees.
I am almost certain I have an email that was wastewater treatment plant, but I will verify, because we definitely didn't code that way,
Okay.
but, yeah,
I'll forward this to you as well, so you have it.
okay. But we would still need appropriated anyway, to spend, so we still have the same issue.
Right. I just didn't know if it was one of those, if we were gonna do an appropriation amount, we just do the full amount, that way it's in there, because I'm assuming there's another bill coming. Because there was did it pop in your phone yet?
Yeah. Yeah, there's the OWDA receipt. And he's saying, see, because this doesn't say a project on it, it just says the receipt that we received money. But he's saying this is for the water project?
Yes, sir.
So,
I'll just have to check. We talked with them last week, Thursday or Friday, and I thought for sure we verified.
so that means we do have the funds then to ensure that we can pay the, 16,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, so that was 12,730, not 80.
practicing.
Well, I was going off memory before, and I was off by $50.
Oh, so I see. So part of it was that. Part of it was, this is what threw us off. Part of it was reimbursement for the new AEP line for the Carbon Hill Lift Station, which is part of the wastewater treatment project plant. That's what they sent us last week. So we just assumed that meant the whole batch was wastewater, so it's split. That's the confusion. So we can figure that out.
Cool. You got an answer?
Yeah, thanks. That was,
Not me, Michael Betts. I don't have anything else for you folks, unless you got something for me.
So, real quick, back to IT. So, are we, how's this working right now? I mean,
So,
Carries all that shit for free.
he's doing a lot of stuff for free. I will tell you, my computer, the audio doesn't work, the camera half works, and my scanner doesn't work. I have every intention when the IT folks are here next time to have them look at it, but to call them and then dispatch them out, I mean, that would eat up almost a whole month's hours
right,
just for my computer. So I'm trying to wait till we have enough folks here because I'm able to work around those problems, but I'm not the only one with IT problems.
So being that new, there shouldn't be any problems, should they?
Mike, I don't know how old
Didn't
my
we
computer
just
is.
get
no,
the,
it's not Scott's laptop.
oh, okay.
Well,
I didn't get the
then
ones
we
that
got
for you
a bunch
guys.
of- Then we got a bunch of licensing issues.
Okay, so our next meeting though is on the 12th. City's open that day?
No, I don't think so.
No.
But I mean, we can still
What?
have a meeting, we do sometimes.
no,
Is
City
that
Hall's not
mistake?
open.
Are we having a meeting that day?
Well, we never,
Never addressed it.
yeah, we never addressed it, so we're gonna have to.
Yeah, I mean,
Cancel it.
I don't have a problem
I don't have a problem meeting. I don't-
having a meeting on Columbus Day.
Yeah, I don't mind either. So with that being said, so the meeting on the 12th, so I'm okay, if you can get us the answers, I'm okay with moving forward with the IT, you know, getting that to legislation for Monday. So long as we're gonna be, you know, those answers come back and the city's gonna be okay, and it's not gonna be a problem for us going forward, I'm okay with, you know, with having that legislation there. We just need to find out, is that gonna be a problem with the auditors, you know, is that gonna be, you
We're
know,
gonna need an ordinance on the additional duties. So
Yeah.
we'd have to write up some type of ordinance on the additional duties and what that entails.
yeah, and so I'm okay with that, just to try to get that moving forward, so, we can keep the city moving as far as the IT goes, and maybe even make the improvements necessary. I just don't know if we can pull that off by this meeting, the next meeting.
Well, and I don't think it's the end of the world if it goes to the following meeting.
I know, but if he's already doing work for us now, and, so I just wanted to share that, that's my opinion. I'm okay with moving forward with it, but if we can find out if it's, you know, how to do it, make
Well,
sure.
if the auditor's here and Hunter should be here on Wednesday, so I mean, maybe we could get that information before.
Yeah, I'll have to call Amanda, our audit lead. They're not back on site till the 27th,
Oh,
but I can call her. I mean,
Hopefully it's a quick, you know, answer from her. and-
So for Gary Hunter, just so we have an email, you want me to ask him specifically if it's okay to pay for an additional duty on a salary employee? I could do that.
that is perfectly, okay.
I'll send Gary, you send auditor.
I'm probably gonna ask for in writing, cause I know
That's why
how,
I'm doing it in email.
I know how strict the folks are being on me right now.
Yeah.
And then if you could forward his answer to all of us, that would be
Sure.
great.
Okay, I'm good.
Mm,
Well, she don't want, well, maybe you are.
No, that's all. So were you guys okay with the appropriation on the mayor's court stuff? out of the mayor's court fund.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
as
would
long
still
as-
love to know how it's funded, but.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Gary says that fund can be used, I don't see why it couldn't, but, you know, as long as it's
That's what
fine.
it says it's for.
Yeah.
You know.
So, but,
I mean, I looked up the ordinance, I mean, it's like a 30-year, 25-year ordinance, but it doesn't say in it what it just says creation of funds, so. That's why I said I just know the fund amount and the name, and that's all I know about it.
Scott, anything else?
Nope, I sent Gary Hunter an email, I have nothing else for you folks unless you got something for me.
No comments?
Nope, the only ones are up here.
So when you read the comments, you need to start, because when they used to come to council, they would state their name and then address, but, so in the comments, we should probably state their name and then
Okay.
comment.
There was just some chatter back and forth about the,
How good
software.
looking I was,
What was?
about how good looking I was.
I actually didn't see that anywhere.
Oh, man, they must have raised that already.
Yep. So, nope, nothing new to add on here question wise.
Okay.
motion to adjourn?
Anything else? Okay, we'll adjourn this meeting at 8:21 PM.